Completely financially inept? Seriously, I found myself staring at the divorce documents sitting on my desk, my hands shaking with a blend of fury and sheer shock. The phrase jumped off the page from Daniel's declaration, like a punch to the gut. My spouse has consistently shown she's bad with money and can't meaningfully support our relationship. My name's Judith, and at the age of 30, I never thought I'd be branded as financially worthless by the man I'd been married to for half a decade. Particularly when I was just about to finalize the sale of my tech business in Silicon Valley. The situation would have been comical if it wasn't causing so much hurt. I stole a glance through my office's clear walls, observing Amanda, my assistant, laughing at something she saw on her phone. Recently, she'd been acting strangely. She'd been taking extended lunch breaks, having secretive conversations on the phone, and displaying an unusual level of curiosity regarding our firm's merger discussions. Looking at her expensive purse and new footwear, I began to understand what was happening. The alert that appeared on my computer screen pulled me back to the present moment, another message from the team handling the acquisition. The agreement was practically finalized. $800,000 for the software business I created that specialized in using artificial intelligence to analyze market trends. I had kept the negotiations discreet, not as a secret, but because early on, I discovered actions are more effective than boasting. With his history in the world of real estate, Daniel had always brushed off what I did as just fooling around on a computer. He just never got what I was creating, and to be honest, he didn't make an effort to either. He'd refer to it as your little thing, even as we started attracting clients and getting noticed in the tech world. Judith, Amanda's voice pulled me out of my train of thought as she stuck her head through the doorway of my office. Daniel called. He mentioned he's going to have someone come by this weekend to get his stuff. Thanks, Amanda, I responded, careful to keep any emotion out of my voice. I couldn't help but see her slight smile as she walked away, the sunlight glinting off her brand-new diamond bracelet, exactly like the one Daniel's mother had given me for our first anniversary. Returning to my laptop, I opened the protected folder that held all of our company's official paperwork. As the very first thing I did tomorrow, I was going to take away Amanda's access to all our company programs, which is the usual procedure when an employee is about to quit, which I felt sure was happening soon. Those final divorce papers needed my signature. Daniel was looking for a fast and uncomplicated separation, blaming things like irreconcilable differences and how he thought I wasn't good with money. He had no idea that while he was busy arranging his departure, I was actually finalizing the most important agreement of my professional life. I picked up my pen, a strange feeling of peace coming over me. Maybe sometimes, doing nothing is the best thing you can do. It's really about giving people the space to just be themselves, you know? A mere 72 hours later, I found myself across a table from my lawyers in their sophisticated downtown Palo Alto office, putting the final touches on both the divorce papers and the company purchase agreement. The convergence of events felt almost like fate, ending my unsuccessful marriage with one signature while simultaneously solidifying my company's future with another. Ms. Kennedy, Barbara, my business lawyer, inquired, adjusting her glasses, "Are you aware that by not challenging the divorce or divulging the upcoming sale, Mr. Harrison won't have any right to your business's holdings?" I gave a slight nod, recalling the evening half a year earlier when the first inklings of trouble surfaced. It seemed Daniel was staying late at work with increasing regularity, and Amanda had begun posing odd inquiries regarding how our company was valued and who our investors were. At that point, I had engaged a private detective, not driven by romantic suspicion, but rather by a desire to safeguard my company's intellectual property. The snapshots they delivered, capturing Daniel and Amanda enjoying intimate lunches, were of lesser significance compared to my fears regarding possible corporate secrets being leaked. "Got it completely," I confirmed, affixing my signature to yet another form. Daniel made his decision, assuming I hesitated for a moment, relaying his exact words with a hint of amusement, worthless when it came to money matters. I don't see any compelling reason to disabuse him of that notion. The team handling the company takeover had emphasized it clearly. Absolute secrecy was paramount until the deal was finalized. Even though our team hadn't found out yet, they were in for a nice surprise with those retention bonuses I'd managed to get worked into the deal for them. At least, most of them were. My phone vibrated, signaling a text from the head of our engineering department. Apparently, Amanda had just turned in her resignation, saying she wanted to go after a new opportunity that she was thrilled about. Just as planned, I muttered quietly, which earned me a questioning glance from Barbara. Is there something we should be worried about? Was her question. I responded by shaking my head. Nope. It's simply the predictable situation of someone who believes they've stumbled upon something better. What I didn't say was that I'd already moved all of her permissions to an account that we could watch, which would allow us to keep an eye on any attempts to get into confidential data. You get used to planning for people leaving before they even do in the tech world. Later that day, I happened to hear a couple of our developers talking about how Amanda had been going on and on about this amazing investment opportunity, something involving special real estate deals that were supposed to double everyone's investment in just a few months. I recognized that look in their eyes, that greedy look that probably hooked Daniel too. In that sense, they were perfect for each other, both so impatient to get rich fast that they couldn't appreciate the importance of creating something that lasts. I faced my computer once more, bringing up the final list of things to do before the sale. They can go run after their pipe dreams of getting rich easily. I had a company that needed to be sold and a future I wanted to create. The final papers for the purchase were signed on Thursday in the late afternoon. I was standing there in the office break room, observing my colleagues celebrate with bubbly and seeing their expressions brighten as I shared the news about their bonuses for staying on board, and I was overcome with a deep feeling of satisfaction. It wasn't just because of the sale itself, but because of creating something substantial, something worthwhile. To Judith, yelled Michael, our main programmer, as he lifted his drink. He added that I was *the best supervisor, who never breathed a word about secretly being a mega-rich intellect. The room filled with joyful noise and clapping. I grinned, reflecting on how much this differed from Daniel's vision of getting rich quickly. He was always going on about making a huge profit, through some bright idea or inside knowledge, never realizing that genuine achievement usually stems from years of dedicated effort. Barbara sent me a text which lit up my cell phone. The divorce is complete. Harrison didn't fight any of the agreements. Congrats. You are now completely unattached and noticeably richer. As I started to reply, Tyler from the finance department rushed up to me, his face red with an enthusiasm that wasn't from the drinks. Judith, you are not going to believe what I just found out, he murmured. My contact at First Bay Bank says Daniel just borrowed an enormous sum of money, using his properties as collateral. He's selling off all of his assets to put money into some supposedly incredible investment. Tyler used his fingers to make quotation marks in the air. Word had gotten around that Amanda had managed to persuade him that she possessed confidential information regarding our company's exclusive trading algorithms. I made an effort to keep my face impassive, all while I was trying to make sense of this news. Amanda had never actually gotten a peek at our true AI technology. All she'd been exposed to was the client-facing user interface. Naturally, though, she wasn't about to tell Daniel that detail. That's quite a revelation, I answered smoothly as I took a drink of my champagne. I'm certain that they have their own plans in place. Later on that night, as I was gathering my things to leave the office, I stumbled upon a dated photograph of Daniel and myself at a holiday celebration. He was engrossed in his phone as he generally was, and I was in the middle of chatting about a fresh project with our development team. It felt like an accurate representation now. He was never truly present in my life, continuously searching for something superior, something more efficient. I tossed the photo into the recycling container and grabbed my laptop. We were scheduled to kick off the integration with the company that was acquiring us the following day. I had agreed to a 3-year contract to keep guiding my team, enhancing our technology even further, now supported by the resources of a powerful tech corporation. As I made my way to my car, I noticed a message from my former private investigator. Just wanted to let you know, AM just purchased a single ticket to the Cayman Islands, traveling alone. I chose not to reply. Instead, I switched off my phone and drove back to my new place in the hills, where I poured a glass of wine and sat on the balcony, watching the sun go down over Silicon Valley. You know, sometimes real success isn't about getting revenge. Instead, it's more about progressing in your own life and allowing others to deal with the outcomes of what they've done. It was 2 months following the buyout, and I was heavily involved in discussions regarding the growth of our AI platform when it started becoming clear that things were falling apart for Daniel and Amanda. I was going over plans for how to combine things with our new parent company when I received a phone call from Lisa, who used to be my assistant in accounting. "Did you see what's been going on?" she asked, cutting straight to the chase. "It seems Daniel's real estate business just announced that it was shutting down. Apparently, there's a group of angry investors demonstrating outside of their office." I opened up the local business news on my computer. And there it was, Daniel's building, with a bunch of people carrying signs talking about fraudulent activities and requesting their money back. I recognized a few of the faces, other real estate brokers who had collaborated with him throughout the years. Lisa went on to explain that they had all apparently invested in some kind of exclusive investment opportunity. It had something to do with special trading formulas and promised profits. Does that ring a bell? I pressed the mute button on my phone and inhaled deeply. It's obvious that Amanda had used her job as my secretary to lend validity to her plan. She had probably made them think that being employed by a tech startup provided her with special insight into cutting-edge trading software. "Thanks for the update," I responded after a moment. "I actually have to get back to a meeting concerning our push into markets in Asia." After ending the call, I redirected my focus to the task in front of me. It turned out our AI was even more beneficial than we originally thought it would be, and we were actually doing better than we had predicted for the first 3 months of the year. I knew I needed to keep my attention fixed on genuine possibilities for growth and not get distracted by old baggage. I owed that to my colleagues and the people who had invested in us. However, what was going on with Daniel and Amanda was simply something I couldn't completely pretend wasn't happening. As the next few days passed, more information came to light. They'd not only persuaded Daniel's coworkers, but a number of his well-off clients as well, to put money into their special investment account. The lure of trading algorithms that were supposedly top secret and supposedly based on insider information they had because of their connection to my company had been too enticing for them to pass up. "Mrs. Harrison," a voice said, pulling me out of my train of thought. I glanced up to see a police officer standing in the entrance to my office. "It's Ms. Kennedy now," I told him. "What can I do for you?" I inquired. "We're looking into a possible investment scam involving Amanda Martinez and Daniel Harrison," he responded. "We understand that Ms. Martinez used to work here," I agreed as I called up Amanda's personnel file on my screen. "She was my assistant for a couple of years," I clarified. The extent of what she could access was limited to normal office tasks. She didn't have anything to do with our specialized technology. As I described what Amanda did at our company and what she was responsible for, the detective wrote things down. "And when did she leave?" he asked. "Around 2 months back, just before my divorce became official," I stated. I gave him a printed copy of her letter of resignation. Everything went through HR, so there's a record of it all. "Did you know she and Mr. Harrison vanished with roughly $3.2 million that belonged to investors?" I made sure my face didn't betray anything. "Actually, no, but honestly, I'm not shocked." Even though Amanda never saw any confidential information, she was really intrigued by the possibility of our company being bought. I guess she took advantage of that supposed link to make their scam seem more believable. The detective gave me a questioning look. "You don't seem all that upset about this." I pointed to the busy office beyond my glass walls, where my team was focused on real progress. "I'm in charge of a real tech company that just sold for $800,000 and is now growing internationally. I just don't have the bandwidth to stress about folks who decided to put their faith in quick money scams." The coming weeks brought a series of bombshells. While getting my morning coffee at my usual Palo Alto spot, I happened to hear a couple of Daniel's old coworkers talking about the money they had lost. One man said, his voice cracking, he stole everything: my retirement money, my children's college money. She showed us all these bogus trading statements, claiming we were getting 40% returns every month. His companion responded, "How could we have been so gullible? We just assumed she was trustworthy because she was employed at a tech company." I quietly paid for my coffee and headed out. Once I was back at the office, I had more urgent things that needed my attention. We were expanding our AI platform faster than we predicted, and I was meeting with possible candidates to lead our new office in Singapore. Genuine achievements come from authentic ingenuity. Later that day, Barbara rang me with news. "The feds are in the picture now," she told me. It turns out that Amanda and Daniel established dummy corporations across 7 different states. The current estimate of all the money lost is roughly $5 million. Have they been spotted anywhere? I inquired, though my interest was casual rather than worried. The money in the Cayman Islands was gone 2 days after their arrival. The last anyone saw of them, they were getting on a yacht, but after that, surveillance lost them. Barbara took a moment. The investigating team wants to find out if you'd be willing to provide an official account of Amanda's position at your firm. I gave it some thought. Just give them the HR files we have and my prior deposition. She was a secretary without the ability to access our tech. Anything she has represented to the contrary is simply a lie. They also discovered some intriguing emails, Barbara mentioned in addition. It seems Daniel was boasting to investors about dumping his wife, who was a drain on his finances, immediately before making a killing with this investment scam. The coincidence is, well, notable. I gave a small smile, recalling what he had written in the divorce documents. It's funny how karma frequently gets its timing just right, Barbara. Anyway, I have to prepare for my presentation to the board. We're considering getting into medical AI. As the day wore on, I strolled through the office space, observing my team hard at work. Thanks to the acquisition, we'd been able to bring on more developers, and our technology was advancing in ways I could only have imagined previously. On one monitor, I noticed our AI was scrutinizing the results of various cancer treatments. Elsewhere, it was forecasting patterns related to the changing climate. My phone vibrated, indicating a news notification. Apparently, a well-known local real estate bigwig and a former employee in the tech industry were wrapped up in a multi-million-dollar investment fraud. The news story featured photos of Daniel and Amanda looking sharp and competent, as they were promising amazing returns using supposedly unique AI trading algorithms. Michael, who leads our developer team, looked at the alert on my phone. It's difficult to fathom that they really thought they could just simulate our tech, he mentioned. We've dedicated years to perfecting these algorithms, I responded, placing the phone down. People will accept what they want to accept, particularly when quick and effortless money is involved. Speaking of money, Michael said with a smile, the early version of the medical AI just succeeded in its initial stage of testing. The venture capitalists have already started calling us. I beamed, shifting my focus towards what's coming up instead of what's already happened. In contrast to Daniel and Amanda, who were trying to peddle false promises, we were creating something genuine, a technology with the potential to meaningfully impact people's lives. Let's put our energy into that, I suggested. We've got a significant amount of work ahead of us. After half a year of integrating our company after the acquisition, I was showcasing the amazing progress on our medical AI at a large technology event in San Francisco when the story finally hit the headlines. The Wall Street Journal dropped a real bomb with their deep dive into Daniel and Amanda's con. It was packed with info even I wasn't privy to. I was killing time between speaking gigs, flipping through the article on my tablet. It turns out they were cooking up this whole thing from the second our acquisition discussions got rolling. It came out that Amanda exploited her job as my assistant to whip up bogus paperwork. She mixed little bits of our real AI stuff with trading numbers that were totally made up. A reporter from Tech Weekly strolled up to me as I was heading off stage. Ms. Kennedy, what's your take on this whole Harrison Martinez investment mess, considering your association? I cut her off, staying calm but making my point. My involvement only goes as far as running the real tech firm they were trying to rip off. What I'm trying to push are our AI platforms, which are currently helping hospitals foresee how patients will fare and giving climate scientists a leg up. When I got back to my hotel room, there was an email waiting for me from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Turns out, after I cut Amanda off, Daniel had tried hitting up my company's servers a bunch of times to get his hands on some actual trading formulas to hide what they were doing. The agent emailed, saying, "Your security setup stopped them from getting in." They also asked if my people could lend a hand tracing their online activity through different cryptocurrency platforms. I sent the request on to our security group. We'd definitely cooperate with the authorities, but I was swamped with other concerns. Our medical AI just got the green light for clinical trials in hospitals, and a number of big hospital systems were really interested in collaborating with us. A text from Barbara lit up my phone. Just wanted to give you a heads up, they caught Daniel. Airport security caught him in Buenos Aires when he was trying to use a bogus passport. Amanda was nowhere to be found, and neither was the cash. As I started crafting my response, my VP of operations rapped on my door. Sorry to butt in, but the Singapore division just achieved a major advancement in the climate modeling algorithm. They can do a demonstration whenever you're available. Schedule the call, I responded, putting my phone aside. The stuff that already happened could sit on the back burner. The things that were still to come couldn't wait. The following day's news stories wrapped up what happened. Apparently, Amanda vanished with almost all the funds, basically leaving Daniel to deal with the fallout all by himself. His frantic attempt to escape failed, and now he was facing extradition and a bunch of federal indictments. When I gave my final speech at the conference, I talked about how important it is to innovate ethically and make something that is truly worthwhile. Without calling out Daniel or Amanda by name, I talked about the overall lesson. I told the full auditorium that true innovation isn't about making a buck fast or making big claims that sound good. It's about fixing real issues and making stuff that truly matters. Getting rich quick is not what success is all about. It's about the positive impact we've had on people and the issues we've addressed. The absurdity wasn't missed by a single person when our AI medical system received the Top Innovation Award. It was also the very day Daniel was sent back to the country to be prosecuted. He was chasing after meaningless assurances and fabricated algorithms, but we were actually creating something groundbreaking. Later that night, the FBI gave me another piece of information. Even though they had put a hold on several accounts in other countries, nearly all of the investors' money had vanished. Amanda was still nowhere to be found, and she probably had millions of dollars she had stolen. I shut down my computer and started giving my focus to the newest suggestions for projects. Their narrative was finished, but the story we're writing is still continuing. After a year had passed, I found myself in the courtroom, watching Daniel get his sentence. He seemed like he was much older than 35. The cockiness he once had was now a look of failure. The judge didn't hold back at all when she talked about the things he had done. She announced, "Mr. Harrison, you have admitted your guilt to a number of charges, including wire fraud, investment fraud, and conspiracy. Your deliberate involvement in this plan has ruined people's lives and taken away their retirement money." The judge then said, "The court is giving you a sentence of 12 years in a federal penitentiary." I didn't stick around to see them escort him out. I needed to go to a meeting with the board, where we were going to talk about deploying our medical AI to an additional 50 hospitals. Our system had previously demonstrated a 40% enhancement in patient results, and the climate modeling division was showing significant headway in forecasting severe climatic events. The press had called what happened to us the story of divergent fortunes, setting my honest achievements in stark contrast to Daniel and Amanda's deceitful activities. In contrast to their act of peddling falsehoods and destroying aspirations, we had created something that was genuinely making a difference globally. Amanda remained unfound. It was assumed she was somewhere living off the millions she stole. Interpol located indications of her presence in Dubai and later Singapore, but all signs had vanished. Daniel's intense eagerness to locate her only highlighted how truly complete her deception had been. While I drove to our main office in Palo Alto, I considered how vastly different the circumstances might be now if Daniel had actually taken the time to comprehend what I was developing, instead of writing it off as something with no financial merit. But then again, people who pursue fast money tend to not recognize legitimate value when presented with it. Shortly after Daniel was sentenced, by a period of 14 days, I received an invitation to deliver the graduation address at Stanford School of Engineering. As I gazed across the multitude of eager faces, I noticed the same ambition and resolve that had inspired me to create something impactful. I explained to them that triumph doesn't come from looking for the easy way out. It's really about generating authentic worth. A lot of people out there are just chasing after shortcuts and easy cash, but the real deal comes from hard work, honesty, and the guts to create something that matters. Once the event was over, a recent graduate came up to me, holding tightly to her degree. She told me she had kept up with the situation involving my previous spouse and his former assistant. Seeing them finally face the consequences of their actions must be a good feeling, she said. I needed a second to consider that. To be honest, I had been putting all my effort into building something substantial, so their failures weren't even on my radar. Their choices led them where they ended up, just like my decisions have led me here. Later that night, I got a message from the team in Singapore. Our artificial intelligence for predicting weather patterns had just assisted a tiny island country in getting everyone to safety before a massive storm hit. Thousands of people were spared. At the same time, I received another notification. The government had just confiscated the last of Daniel's hidden money, only about $42,000 that he had stashed away in some forgotten account. As I walked through our workspace, which now took up 3 levels and had over 200 employees, I felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The thing that Daniel had laughed off as my little hobby was now worth more than $100 million, and more significantly, it was making a genuine impact on the lives of people. You know, sometimes the greatest victory isn't about getting even with someone. It's just the quiet joy of creating something important while other people are busy chasing after things that don't really matter.